Welcome to the unknown, a place where ghosts, cryptids, and extraterrestrials are sought. This is where you'll find answers to questions about what lurks in the dark. This is Periscope Uncensored.
Good evening, everyone, and welcome to Periscope Uncensored on WBHM Digital Broadcasting out of Birmingham, Alabama. I'm Clarissa Vasquez. Joining me this evening is the sour cream on my baked potato, Mr. Joe White.
Hey, how you doing, everybody?
And I say sour cream because he just woke up from a nap.
Yes, I did.
And I've got the pictures to prove it.
Oh, no.
The question is, though, Joe, what's it worth to you for me to not post that picture on social media?
Quite a bit.
Really?
Yeah.
Oh, we may have to negotiate during the break. So, how are things going in the paranormal world?
Well, there's been some exciting news. Some of us know that there were 3 separate video clips of UFOs that were put out to the Stars Academy. And the United States government was supposed to cease and desist on investigating these things back in 2012. I believe it was today that it was the Pentagon released a statement via video stating that it hasn't ceased at all, and they're continuing to study the UFO phenomena.
Who issued the cease and desist order in 2012?
They just decided they were going to stop.
Okay, so the government issued a statement 7 years ago saying, we're going to stop investigating this, it's bunk, we're done. And then today they issued a statement that I believe was released in the New York Post and CNN, is that correct?
Yes, along with Fox News.
Okay, so 3 separate quote-unquote credible news sources released this article that the Pentagon, issued the statement today that they have not stopped investigating this.
Correct.
And was there anything in the statement that indicated that the U.S. government believes that extraterrestrial activity exists? Are they confirming or denying anything, or just that they're still investigating?
That they're still investigating.
But nothing
No.
for or against the existence of extraterrestrials?
Mm.
Okay. All right. Well, you're right. That is exciting.
Yeah.
I'm sure the YouTube is all a Twitter.
Well, I mean, to think about it realistically, there's how many thousands of millions of galaxies out there with billions and billions of planets out there, and we're the only life forms in existence? That's closed-minded and very unlikely.
To quote the movie Contact, it seems like an awful waste of space.
Yeah.
Yeah. And I just got word that the Washington Post broke that news on the 20th.
Ah.
So it seems like the other news agencies maybe had a slow news day today and broke it today. Or they're just now catching up to the Washington Post. But regardless, it's big news this week.
Yes.
And certainly worth discussing, I think, for the ufologists out there and the extraterrestrial believers. This is big news, I think.
I agree.
So.
I agree. It's just that, like half the Americans alone, believe in the existence of UFOs and the aliens. So it's, what are they waiting for? Well, why don't they just disclose the whole thing? That's what I don't get.
Right. Well, you got to think of the other impacts that disclosing that information would have. I mean, there would be, a lot of ramifications. I mean, mass religious hysteria for one. For those that believe, and I'm not, advocating for or against, but for those that believe there is only one God and that humans are the only creations of His in existence, to have scientific proof backed up by the government, that these things are real, extraterrestrials are out there, they've come into our solar system, that would bring forth a lot of ramifications, particularly in the field of organized religion.
Yeah, but then you get the other things, we're talking ancient history here, hieroglyphs or petroglyphs or whatever you want to call them, where they have pictures of these things, flying, whatever you want to call them.
Flying saucers?
Yeah, but that...
They're not necessarily saucer-shaped.
No, but it's... I forget what year that term was coined by Kenneth Arnold, I believe. I could be wrong on the first name. His last name was definitely Arnold, but he was the one that was over Mount Rainier and found the 5 or 6 discs flying by him.
Okay.
As he was flying his airplane. But the thing is that they, I mean, even in religious pictures, biblical pictures, say, for instance, there's one picture of Mary holding Jesus in front of a window, it seems, and there's a big archway, like the old, Greek archway. Or Roman archway, whatever you want to call it. And in the background in the sky, there's an object there.
Right. And you've got to take into consideration, who the artist was and when that image was actually created.
Right.
Leonardo da Vinci painted The Last Supper, and that was centuries after The Last Supper supposedly took place. So... you've got to consider the source on some of that artwork. But doesn't change the fact that the United States government has admitted to researching extraterrestrial and unidentified flying object phenomena.
Correct. And now with just the Washington Post, it's added to the other 3 previous news streams, news medias. Just adds to it. Yeah.
And speaking of the news, we definitely here at Periscope Uncensored and within the WBHM family of hosts, we definitely want to send our thoughts and prayers out to everyone affected by all of the tornadoes last night, particularly Jefferson City, Missouri. Our thoughts and prayers are with all of you, the victims and the families, for healing and recovery.
Absolutely.
And I believe the Weather Channel this morning reported there was over 150 tornadoes that touched down in the Midwest last night.
Yes.
I mean, that's just insane. I mean, I know what that weather system did here in Colorado. My son, the offspring, was graduating from high school on Tuesday, and we were sitting at his high school graduation. They got 6 inches of snow overnight, and we were getting snowed on during the graduation ceremony.
Yeah, I actually saw that. Saw the snow coming down.
Yeah, because you watched the graduation ceremony on the live stream.
Yes.
And you saw all of us sitting in the stands, shivering and teeth chattering, and you got to watch all of that from the comfort of our living room.
Oh, I was nice and warm.
Yeah, I bet you were curled up under a blanket too, you and the cat.
No, not really. And just think it, you weren't even going to take a sweater with you.
I know, I wasn't going to take a sweater. I wasn't going to take a hoodie. I had a sleeveless dress and open-toed shoes, and luckily I had the good sense to bring tights, not pantyhose, but tights and a sweater. And so, the only part of me that was really super cold were my toes, because I did still have the open-toed shoes, but between the sweater and the tights, and I had gloves in the car, so the rest of me was pretty warm. And, we sat on a blanket, so we didn't have the cold metal bleachers freezing our butts. But it was enjoyable. It was bittersweet for me, because now my baby is all grown up. He's a man now, and on to the next adventure. He starts college in a couple of months. That is crazy.
Yeah.
And I told his dad the other day, I said, this went by way too fast. And he says, shut up, we're not talking about it.
You think it's bad when he turns 18? Wait till he turns 30.
Oh, yeah, no, I don't want to think about that. I know you have a 30-year-old, so.
Well, it's only 12 years away.
I know.
It's right around the corner.
No, I don't want to think about that. But see, when mine is 30, you'll have one in their 40s.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Almost 50 at that point.
Yeah.
Be closer to 50.
Yep. But we've got a great show lined up for you tonight, folks. We're going to be talking to at least one member of Memphis Empath Paranormal Society. Actually, we're going to have three of them: Eric, John, and Chris from Memphis Empath Paranormal Society. We're going to be talking to them coming up here in about 8 minutes. We'll be talking to them, and we're going to find out what they're all about and how empathic abilities play into paranormal investigation.
That'll be interesting. That's some of us that are on teams that that do have abilities. It'll be interesting to see how if they actually use their abilities or if they shut them down for the investigation and whatnot. Excuse me. That'll be a very interesting conversation.
Yeah, definitely. So I just got confirmation from two of the three, and so we'll see going into the break if we can get all three to confirm. But the last I heard, we were going to have Eric, Chris, and John. So, and I don't know if it's a team of three or if there's more than three, but it'll be exciting to talk to these guys. And I imagine that with their accents, they sound a lot like our producer, Kat Hobson.
Most likely. We're talking Memphis, right?
Memphis, Tennessee, yeah, which isn't that far from where Kat is in Birmingham, Alabama.
Yeah.
And she's probably chuckling right now because we're picking on her just a little bit.
It's all with love.
That's right. We keep it in the family. So if you have questions tonight for Joe or myself or our guests from Memphis Empath Paranormal Society, hop on over to the WBHM-DB.com chat room where you can talk with like-minded and sometimes not so like-minded individuals. Good time is had by all. We've got some great people in the chat room tonight. Of course, our producer, Kat Hobson, is here. Joe and I are both in the chat room, as are Vern and Wendy. And chat room is already hopping, and people talking about extraterrestrials and the tornadoes in Jeff City. And And so if you've got questions or comments tonight, feel free to post them in chat. We'll do our very best to get your questions on the air if they're appropriate to the conversation. And if not, maybe your question will get answered in private chat. We can do that. We'll send you a little message with the answer to your question. If we get bombarded, I can't guarantee that your question is going to get on the air, but we will do our very best, won't we?
Absolutely, we will.
So, and coming up next week on Periscope Uncensored, we're going to have the very gifted and talented and very lovely Laura Lee Potvin on the show. She is a very gifted medium, and she does angel readings, and she is absolutely wonderful. We just love Laura Lee. And Vern just asked, what is Jax eating? He's not eating anything, Vern.
Oh.
Not sure what you're hearing or what you think you're hearing, but nobody's eating anything over here. So, or unless that was a question from the chat room, that we would do our best to get the questions on the air and get them answered. So, I don't. What's for dinner tonight, Jax?
I don't know.
You don't know?
No.
We discussed it earlier today.
Oh wait.
Fried chicken and potato salad.
That's right.
That's what's for dinner. As soon as we're off the air, that's what we're having for dinner: is fried chicken and potato salad.
Cool.
You would think it was summer, even though the temperature is in the upper 30s here right now.
The weather's just insane here lately, hasn't it been?
It's crazy.
It's like last week it was like 70, 75, and this week it drops down to 50s, 30s.
Well, in Denver on Tuesday, the high temperature in Denver was 34 degrees. And that is the lowest high temperature in the month of May in 49 years.
Wow.
Yeah. Yeah, they didn't have a high temperature in Denver that low since the 1960s. Since like 1969, I think.
Wow.
So Vern asked if we were having fried chicken from the popular fast food restaurant. No. We will not stoop so low. Wendy says she's hungry, and fried chicken and potato salad sounds good, so she'll be here shortly.
Yay!
The light is on and the door is open. Wendy, come on over. We got plenty. So Vern says that the change in the weather pattern is due to global warming, which is quite possible.
It is possible.
It is possible. But all I know is I'm ready for warmer temperatures. We've got less than a month for things to warm up. Not too hot, but, warm up just enough to make the end of June pleasant. That's what I want.
About 65, 70, a nice breeze.
Yep.
I could deal with that.
That would be nice. But it is time for our first break. Welcome back to Periscope Uncensored on WBHM Digital Broadcasting out of Birmingham, Alabama. I'm Clarissa Vasquez. Riding shotgun this evening, as always, is the twizzle in my martini, Mr. Joe White.
Hello, everybody.
And we have got some great guests on the line tonight, folks, and I apologize for the technical difficulties as we were going to break. Somehow Skype dropped us, but those things happen. And we've got Chris, John, and Eric from Memphis Empath Paranormal Society on the line with us, and we're going to be talking to them here in just a couple of seconds about their organization and what they're all about. So please join us in welcoming Chris, John, and Eric from Memphis Empath Paranormal Society. How you doing, guys?
Doing good. How are y'all? Hey, guys.
We are great. So, first of all, I want to know, how you came up with the name for your organization, Memphis Empath Paranormal Society. What brought that about?
Honestly, it was just we were all sitting around throwing out ideas. We had a young lady that was we had a couple of young ladies when we first started that were empaths. We're all from Memphis. Of course, paranormal because of what it is, and society because it was the group of people. And of course, the acronym MEPS was really easy to use and walk away with it, and it's very catchy and it's simple.
I will agree with that, although when I hear the term MEPS, I think of Military Enlistment Processing Station back from the days when I was in the service. But
yeah, especially here in Memphis, because that's where the military entrance was for many years in the West Tennessee, Eastern Arkansas, and Northern Mississippi area. You went downtown.
Oh, did we lose him? We may have lost him.
Uh-oh.
Not sure, but so you guys had empaths on the team at one point in time. Do you still have empaths on the team?
No, ma'am, we don't. We're pretty much down to us three now, and a few other guys in the shadows.
Okay.
But,
how long has your organization been around?
About 4 years.
Yeah, but
About 4 years. Okay.
Yes, ma'am.
And with any organization you have out there, there's the ebb and flow of, people joining the team and leaving the team. And, sometimes you're thin on cases and sometimes you're full of cases. Do you guys find that you do primarily residential cases, or do you guys do more commercial locations?
Just whoever needs us at whatever time. We really want to just to help people, regardless if it is a residential or if it's a commercial, because if you're having any type of incident with an entity or a spirit or however you want to determine the use of whatever word for them, they don't know if you're a resident or a company. They just, people want help, and that's what we're wanting to do is help people.
Yeah, absolutely. And so do you guys focus primarily then on the scientific side of investigating, or do you focus on the metaphysical side of investigating?
Well, this is Eric, and we try to, and when we investigate, we try to conduct investigation based on scientific theory. We go in, we investigate. Our main, more or less, our main goal is to evaluate, to investigate, and to educate. When we investigate, we base it on trying to debunk whatever claims that the client may have. When we investigate, we go in, we focus basically on physical evidence. Now, we do also use the ghost box a lot when we do investigate, even though there's no really scientific backing to using the PSP-11 or the PSP-7, but we do like to use that quite a bit. But our main focus is photography, film, and EVPs. That's basically what we go in using. We really focus on those three out of more than doing anything else when we try to do it. But that's our main goal is when we go in, we basically go in to debunk any claim. Because a lot of times, that's what basically most clients are wanting. They want an explanation for what they're experiencing or what claims they have going on. They're kind of in a state of confusion. Most of them, 99% of the time, say, I want somebody to confirm that I'm not going crazy. And so when we go in, we try to find a logical explanation for it.
That's a really good methodology, if you will.
Yes, ma'am. We do. That's really what we focus on. Like I said, we did have a young lady that, and we do call her and utilize her help from time to time, who is self-proclaimed clairvoyant. and she's really accurate. She's really great. But a lot of times we like to, when we do involve her or do bring her in, we don't disclose any information about the client, where we're going, what we're investigating, what we're looking for. We strictly bring her in, usually right after our first meeting with the client. We'll bring her in, let her walk through, let her sit down and talk with the client, and then we'll gather her what she comes up with, and we'll take that and use it for our own personal reference later on after we've already investigated. But like I said, we don't use her as far as investigations. We don't use her throughout the investigation, just strictly on a pre-walkthrough.
That's great.
And some people have to understand about an empath is it is something that if somebody is an empath, it's not something that you can cut off and turn on and turn off at any time. It's something that you live with 24/7, and it's kind of difficult if you're in a situation where that you have a lot of entities or a lot of activity. That empath is being bombarded by all the things that she senses or he senses and feels. So it does make it kind of difficult for them to be in on a investigation from start to finish. You have to always, as a group, we have to always make sure that we keep each other's health, our mentality, our physical being, and everything in each other's hands, because we're dealing with things that even if you don't believe in ghosts or anything, you're in buildings that are old and dilapidated that you can fall through a floor. There's a chance of being hurt. So you're taking, you're very strong about protecting each other in your group, and also protecting like your empaths or your clairvoyants or whomever, because if it is a location that is very highly active, it will bombard them so much that they have to, you have to watch that with them also.
You're absolutely right with that.
We have a question come in from the chat. Wendy would like to know what kind of cameras do you like and prefer?
Well, there's a couple of them that we really like. We've always been big fans of the Sony Handycams, the old ones from the high 8s to the new ones like the AX55. That's
I
one
love
of our
the old ones.
I do too. I really like the quality that they produce, and now we basically rely on a couple of cheap ones that we actually use that are actually good. I mean, if they were to get dropped or broke, it's not a big break on the bank, but the Bell & Howell DMV 16 HDZ is actually probably by hands down one of the most economical, great cameras for filming in 1080 high quality. With infrared on it, you actually only lose a little bit of quality with filming in night vision mode, but by far, hands down, would have to be the Sony AX55, and you can actually find them pretty cheap if you search online. Mm-hmm. And those cameras are 4K capable. You can film in standard 2K with night vision, and the quality is just absolutely unbelievable.
Yeah, I like the night vision capabilities on the older Sony Handycams. The reason they kind of reduced the infrared on those was because the infrared was able to penetrate people's clothing, and people were getting a little more of a show than they were wanting, or maybe they were getting just as much as they were wanting, depending on what they were using it for. But for our purposes, it was great. But they had to reduce that because the infrared was penetrating the clothing there. So
and some of us, that's not a good thing.
Yeah,
but we do, we really do. And as far as using a full spectrum camera, we actually like using, and I actually have one right here with me that I'm fixing to pull out, but is actually the Sony CBX 240, which is actually a good high quality camera. It's cheaper, but it actually is a great camera. The quality of video that it shoots is great. It's it's the HDR CX240, and that camera is easily modified to full spectrum. And that one with a full spectrum phantom light, which we use, is really good. It's really good. I mean, it picks up, it films great, like I said, and even filming converting it with full spectrum and filming with just like I said, using it with just like a 5-light phantom light, full spectrum light, the shots, the range of low illumination is really good on that camera. Really good. I've really enjoyed that camera. We just recently purchased it and did the conversion on it about a month ago to check it out, and I was really impressed by it. It was probably the best money I've ever spent for less than $100 on a camera.
Do you guys do your own modifications?
We do.
Outstanding.
Wow.
Yeah.
That's a money saver right there.
Yes.
It is. I mean, I found that, especially like on some of our digital cameras, that you can shop online and find those things, $10 to $20 a piece, and it takes you 10 minutes to take it apart and pull the IR filter out of it, and boom, you got a full spectrum camera right there, and you're good to go. I mean, and it's as opposed to going on eBay and purchasing one for $70 or $75. It's a lot better.
Yeah, definitely. And I apologize. Somebody was trying to say something before I asked if you guys did your own modifications, and I cut him off.
Yes, ma'am. That was me. That was John. I was just going to say, if anybody wanted to see the end result of what the cameras that we use, what they look like, we now have a YouTube channel that we drop every Sunday. We drop a 20 to 30 minute video. It's called Urban Ghost Hunters. We have a production company out of South Africa that is helping us do this, and we're wanting to, this gives your listeners and our listeners and our people that follow us on YouTube, on Instagram, and everything else, a way to check out what we do, how we do it, who is involved in it. And it's like I said, it's a 30-minute drop every Sunday that we do on Urban Ghost Hunters YouTube channel, and it'll show you exactly how the cameras work that we use. We're thinking about starting to do maybe once a month doing a drop of how to use a certain piece of equipment, because there's nobody out there that teaches other people that want to get into ghost hunting or into this, how to use the equipment. We started doing it 4 years ago, trial and error. Oops, this is not how we need to do it. Oh, maybe we can change and do it like this. I mean, it's taken a lot of hard work to figure out what we've got and how we got to use it. And nobody in this industry really wants to share that with other people. There's enough spots in this world to go look at that has some type of an entity that it shouldn't be where you should want to help everybody else be able to do what you're doing.
Now, with that being said, do you believe that there should be a standardized methodology for investigating then?
Well, of course. I mean, that's anything. If you're trying to take anything that some people are wanting to put into the scientific realm, then you have to have some type of standardized way to do things. I mean, it's just anything in the world that you do. As an electrician, you have to have a standardized way. Either if you're in America or in the UK, it's a standardized way. You have a electrical handbook you have to go by. That is a federal code book. Same thing with doing, HVAC. Any type of industry that you're in, it has to have some type of standardized industry, or you have no, the best word for it is you have no, there's no checks and balances. I can tell you I see something, but unless you have a checks and balance, how are you going to believe me? What am I going to show you that is going to show you what I believe unless we have some type of checks and balances? a lot of the people that you see that are on TV now, they always show you how they debunk something. That is the biggest thing. You're not going in to prove that there is something in a location. You're going in there to prove that there is not something in the location. That is the biggest thing. People think that you're going into a location to be the person that, I'm the first person that has ever filmed an entity. You're going in because you're trying to prove that there is not something in there. Because people believe there's something there, that means you have to prove that there's not. If you're not able to prove that there is not something there, that you catch things on EVP, on your still cameras, on your video cameras, on your mail meters, whatever the equipment is you use, even guiding rods from what they used years and years ago. You have to prove that what you're using and what you're seeing is there. So you have to have some type of a guideline. If not, it's hit or miss. I either believe you or I don't. What type of a person, what type of character do you have?
No, you're absolutely right. And I agree with you 100% that there should be a standardized methodology. So then how do you feel? You mentioned the TV shows a couple of times already. How do you feel then about these TV shows that are practicing unethical methods during the course of their investigation, provoking, for example?
Well, this is Eric, and I'll answer that the best way I can. I actually, and my name is Eric Murphy, and I actually appeared on one of those ghost shows on TV on the Travel Channel a few years ago on the TV show Deadly Possessions, and I had actually placed a last rites box that I believe sincerely had an attachment in the museum in Las Vegas. And these shows are built around not necessarily finding evidence, but built on ratings. I mean, as anything, we know that these shows are built on hype and on ratings. And, and I'm going to, I'll level with you. And I know these guys I know that, Zach Bagans and all the other guys are big on putting these shows out, but and that's the thing. That's what builds these shows is the dramatics and the ratings. That's what makes the shows. So of course, they're gonna. Let's face it. A ghost hunter. You can ask me to explain my job as a paranormal investigator, and I'm going to tell you that if you go along with me on an 8-hour investigation, you will see it's probably the most boring job in the world. And I'm not going to lie.
Yeah.
And I may sit, investigate a location all night long and not capture one bit of evidence.
All the shows do is show you in a 30-minute or 1-hour spot what they find. They don't tell you that that's anywhere from a 8, 16 to sometimes even a 72-hour investigation just to bring a 43-minute TV show. That is what is hours produced is 43 minutes because your ads and everything. But it takes 72 hours of recordings to get a 43-minute show. And people have to realize that most people that do this, most groups have at least 4, if not more, cameras, recording devices, digital recorders, regular cameras, you have so much equipment that people look and watch these shows and see it for an hour, and they don't understand that it takes us anywhere from 72 to 96 hours to go over all the evidence on a 6-hour investigation. Not an 8-hour, but just
absolutely right, guys. And it a lot of the things that you are touching on sounds just like me giving an interview. And on that note, we have got to take our next break of the evening. But when we come back, we're going to have more with Chris, Eric, and John from Memphis Empath Paranormal Society. So stay tuned. You're listening to Periscope Uncensored on WBHM Digital Broadcasting, and we will be right back. Welcome back to Periscope Uncensored on WBHM Digital Broadcasting out of Birmingham, Alabama. I'm Clarissa Vasquez. Joining me in the co-pilot seat this evening, as always, is the sprinkles on my donut, Mr. Joe White.
How you doing, everybody?
And guys, we have been having a great time so far talking to John, Eric, and Chris from Memphis Empath Paranormal Society. They are out of Memphis and West Memphis, Tennessee. And You know, Joe, we mentioned a little bit before we went to break how much talking to them sounds like some of the interviews that I have given.
Yes.
You know, particularly how the TV shows are geared for ratings as opposed to the data that can be and most often is not collected, and how, you know, one investigation, depending on how much equipment you use, can lead up to 100 hours or more of data review, because for every camera that you use, you have to go over that in real time. So if you set up an 8-channel DVR system, you have, you know, 8 cameras that you have to go over in real time. And the longer your investigation, the longer your, you know, your data review is. So let's say you only run for 2 hours, you got 8 cameras rolling. That's 16 hours of video footage that you've got to go over. And that doesn't include still photography. That doesn't include your audio files.
Correct.
And so, and a lot of people don't realize that. As the guys mentioned before we went to break, you know, a lot of people don't realize when they're watching this 30 or 60-minute program, you know, what really goes into an investigation, especially, as the guys mentioned earlier, if you're trying to conduct it scientifically.
Correct.
And there are shows out there, and we're going to ask the guys about this here in just a minute, but there are shows out there that do utilize psychic mediums on there. And they mentioned a little bit, you know, how they have utilized empaths in particular, and at least one sensitive in the past, but they don't utilize them during the course of the investigation. And I personally applaud them for that, because I don't feel that there are enough people out there trying to utilize scientific techniques. I don't believe that there are hardly any of them that are trying to utilize the scientific method using a series of controls and variables. So, ladies and gentlemen, please join us in welcoming back John, Eric, and Chris from Memphis Empath Paranormal Society. Welcome back, guys.
Hey, thanks.
Thank you, ma'am.
Hey, thank you.
So guys, let's get back to the psychic side of things. We've talked a little bit about your personal preferences as far as utilizing sensitives and empaths prior to your physical investigation at a location. How do you feel about these organizations out there, and even some of the TV shows that really rely heavily on psychic mediums to do the bulk of the work for them?
Well, honestly, I believe that if you use a psychic through or sensitive through the course of your investigation, it weighs heavily on the influence of the outcome of, basically your experiment to, prove or disprove the client's claims. I believe that if you do use a sensitive, that in turn during the course of an investigation, that can go either way as far as influence towards either the investigators or towards the sensitives. We want very limited information given to our, the sensitive, because like I said, we don't want any information on the place that we're investigating. I don't want them to have a chance to do anything. I don't want them to have a chance to be able to look up the location. I don't want them to, when we actually used her, we actually would wait until about 30 to 45 minutes. We told her, hey, we got an investigation, but usually right before we go, we'll give her the date, the time, and then 30 to 45 minutes before the time we call her and give her the address to meet us at. And that's strictly because we don't want any influence on her at all.
A psychic or a medium does not need any type of contamination to the location. One thing you also have to realize, that people that that have invested the time and the energy into this field, they themselves have some type of ability, maybe not as foregone as an empath or a psychic, but you have feelings. You can feel, or you become a little ill, or you get a pain in your back, or there's certain telltale signs that you as yourself have. We all have the ability to see other things and feel other things, but as we grow older, we become jaded. And an empath is somebody that still has a clear mind. I mean, the old saying, animal and a child, there's nothing more truthful because they have not been jaded by society. So as, I myself, I can feel certain entities in a location. Eric can too. But we don't claim to be anything that we're not. I can't sit down and write down and tell you, okay, this is the formula for me to be an empath. I am a background of 25 years in the electrical industry, cameras, computers, telephones. So my background is really and truly on the physical, being able to see, feel, and touch and repair something. Doing this, you get out of your comfort zone. And that's another thing that people have to understand, that once you start doing this, you're not in a comfort zone of your own anymore. You basically are opening yourself up to the feelings, the senses, everything that you see, feel, hear, touch, taste in a location. It's just one of those things that once again, going back to the television, you only see what they allow you to see. You don't feel what the people that are there feel. You sound like you've done this yourself, and there's times that you're in a location and you get sick for no reason.
You're absolutely right there.
But some people look at that and they don't want to accept it for what it is. Everybody has their own feel for everything that you do in life. When you're attracted and when you become into this field where you want to give it your all, you start understanding that there's things that are bigger than you personally, that you're dealing with things that, as a society today, everybody in the world wants to know, is there something out there? Well, are we willing to do it the scientific way, or are we willing to just rest on our laurels and, I saw a shadow move, there must be something there? That's the way we look at it. We want it to be, we understand there's things out there that we can't explain, but we also understand there's things out there that we can debunk. And
right.
That's the biggest thing. You have to have that one person that wants to debunk everything.
Right. How do you feel about people going into locations blind without any prior knowledge about the location?
That is just on a personal belief. I personally do not want to, because I want to kind of understand what has happened at that location. What is the making of the ground? Or is there limestone? Is there water? Is there the water table? Everybody knows the power lines. The biggest thing, energy is traveled through water. It's one of the best conduits. Anytime you have power lines overhead, you have a absorbent amount of extra energy there. The limestone rocks. You need to know a little bit, maybe not so much on what has happened there, but at least what has been located there. There was an Indian tribe there that was wiped out in the 1700s. Civil War. There was a big battle there. It helps you in understanding what you see and what you conceive, but it is not the last thing that you want to use to make up your mind on that location and on your investigation. Everything that you do is a brand new empty page. No matter how many times you do this, every time you walk through the doorway of a new location, it's an empty page. You're ready to write down a new chapter.
And that would fall under the lines of, so if you want to go into like debunk a lot of the and have natural phenomenon for these things, you'd have to have some type of knowledge.
Exactly. That's, I'm a big fan of prior knowledge of, especially like, we do a lot of residential stuff, and the first thing I do is when I get a query, I do a property search on the address. I run the address. I do a data bank here local in Shelby County, and I pull up everything. I'll know everybody that's ever used that address. If there's a death certificate recorded at that address, I know it. And a lot of times I like to know that, I'll know anything, any kind of, prior criminal activity, anything like that. I know everything that goes on has happened at that residence. And the reason why I like to know it, I kind of like to know as far as the history. Was it bad history? Was it good history? A lot of times you can tell that just by looking. And I mean, a lot of times people, a lot of people that are in this field may not quite have access to it. So, and a few times at a couple of locations we went to, like recently, we went to a local tuberculosis hospital, and we didn't have a whole lot of information on the place. We basically just got permission and went and filmed there. And but we did. I was able to, after we filmed there the first time, we actually went into this location blind. As far as, we didn't know how many deaths were recorded there. We didn't know, really anything about it other than when it was built in 1902, it was a tuberculosis hospital for the tuberculosis outbreak in Shelby County. And so after we did our first night investigation there, before we returned the second time, I actually did a little bit of historical research on the property, learned a little bit more about it, got some more information, found out what the death records were from the location. Just got a little bit of information on the place, just to kind of know the history of it. That's one thing about it. I'm the history guy on most of these locations we go to. I will even go as far as to do, like, if I can't find a whole lot of information, I'll run a diedinhouse.com report on it, just to get a little bit of extra information, maybe that the current resident or homeowner doesn't know.
Right.
We like to be able to, we like to have our I's dotted and our T's crossed when we present, our findings. We disclose everything to our, to our client. After our investigation, we disclose, exactly what we found or what we did found, what we were able to debunk or not debunk. And, we like to pass along, if they don't have any, knowledge of, any historical significance with the property, we'll pass that on too. That's something I love doing with any place we go. Is I'm a major history buff, so that's the first thing that I like to do is, get a chance to actually get a little bit of history about the location.
Yeah. Well, I was saying knowledge is power, so all you're doing is empowering yourself when you go into these locations.
Right.
Very, very cool. Well, guys, it is almost time for our top of the hour break. When we come back, I know Joe's got a big question for you guys, and I've got a whole list of questions swimming through my head. So we are going to take our top of the hour break, but when we come back, we're going to have more with John, Eric, and Chris from Memphis Empath Paranormal Society, also known as MEPS, out of Memphis and West Memphis, Tennessee. So stay tuned, folks. You are listening to Periscope Uncensored on WBHM Digital Broadcasting out of Birmingham, Alabama, and we will be right back after this message from NPR. Periscope Uncensored on WBHM Digital Broadcasting out of Birmingham, Alabama. I'm Clarissa Vasquez. Riding shotgun this evening, as always, is the cream in my Oreo cookie, Mr. Joe White.
Hey, how you doing, everybody?
We are having a fantastic time talking to these guys. We're talking to Chris, Eric, and John from Memphis Empath Paranormal Society. And oh my gosh, these guys are phenomenal.
They really are.
This has been such a fun interview so far, and we've still got 40 minutes left with them. So I'm excited to hear what they've got to say. And I know, Joe, that you've got a big question for them, so we're going to welcome them back to the show. Welcome back, guys.
Hey, thank you very much.
Thank you.
Before the break, you mentioned limestone a few times. Do you feel it's a better conductor of energy than, say, granite, which contains high levels of quartz, which has been proved to conduct energy?
Well, so you just said the opposite word there, quartz. Limestone in this part of the country is going to be more prevalent because of our location, because of being in the Mississippi River Basin, the Tennessee River Basin. Quartz is something you're going to find down like where y'all are, Stone Mountain, Georgia, matter of fact. And quartz is going to be is going to be a better conductor. But where we're located, we see more of a limestone sand base because of being in the Mississippi Basin. So that's what we really and truly that's more of what we know of. But like I said, quartz is the same principle as like I said, I was an electrician, conduit of electrical. Everybody, silver, copper, aluminum. The best one is gold. It is the best conductor. A lot of people don't realize that, but that's why you have your high-speed computers. They have gold connectors in them because it's your best conductor of energy, just like your quartz is. But where we're located, because of the sand, the limestone, and of course we have a lot of clay. That's what we deal with here in this area.
No, and you're absolutely right. And, Joe and I are really lucky because where we're located in Colorado, we've got limestone, we've got quartz, we've got granite, and we've got gold and copper and silver and lead mines and coal mines everywhere. So we've got a little bit of everything up here in the mountains of Colorado. But you're absolutely right. If you're limited as to the geological makeup of your area, you've really got to take a look and examine, okay, what is the fill dirt consisted of? What's the bedrock look like, at this location? You guys really have your work cut out for you as far as determining the geological makeup of where you're at.
Oh, exactly. We're not far from where the Bell Witch cave is. It's in Middle Tennessee. And there you have a lot of the limestone, but it's also because of the running water. When you're in this side of the state, in the West Tennessee area and the Eastern Arkansas area, because we're in the Mississippi River bottoms, you could almost say, we have more of a sand basin with limestone below it. We are basically on a sand bar. Is basically what this area. I mean, look at New Orleans. They're below the river level because it's on sand, and that's one of the things we deal with in this area where, like you said, in the Rockies and over in East Tennessee in the Smoky Mountains, it's the same way. They have everything. You have copper mines, coal mines. There's no silver or gold mines, but when you have copper and gold coal mines, you have all the same geological construction that you do out in the Rockies.
Yeah, and and that's one thing that we're actually pretty blessed with as far as our geological makeup, but also because from one history buff to another, because I majored in history in college, the coal mines and the gold mines and the silver mines and the lead mines and copper mines, here in this state, have a lot of history in them. And a lot of these mines have tragedies attached to them, not to mention the mining towns of the Old West. So, the history and the potential for geographic psychic trauma in some of these areas is exponential.
And all of the mines that you're talking about, you had all of the Chinese workers, especially in the Colorado, the Comstock Lode. I bought gold, silver, and antiquities for years, and I'm really a buff on precious metals and things like that. And people don't understand the Comstock Lode, which is there right outside of Carson City, Colorado. Yep. That's where was the largest silver mine in the Western Hemisphere. And people don't realize that. That's why they put put the Carson City Mint there, because they didn't want to have to try to take the silver across the stagecoaches across the Sierra Nevadas into Sacramento. So they built a U.S. Mint there in Carson City, even though it wasn't very long. That's why it was built there, because it was so abundant in that area that they did it to save all the people, all the miners and everything, because, I mean, you were losing lots of lives. And that's one of the things you deal with there where you're located, is the loss of life due to the silver, the copper, the coal mines, and everything else.
Yeah, and not just the Chinese immigrants and workers, but we also had a lot of Irish immigrants and workers here.
Yes, and there's quite a few Italians out in the Vegas, in the Nevada area, that were used as immigrants. That a lot of people don't realize. Most of the Germans went up into the Minnesota, up into the Great Lake areas, and that's where they're more prevalent of that. But when you're working in the mining industry, you have the Irish, the Italians, and you have the Chinese. I mean, they're just the unfortunately, it's just the way that society is today. They were the people that did it.
So given that, we've already established that history and geological significance is important in an investigation. When you're conducting an investigation, do you try to take those things into account? Say, for example, you're investigating a mining location where you know that there were a lot of Chinese or Irish or Italian immigrants working. Do you try to cater your investigations to the potential people that may have been there?
Well, in a situation like that, we might try to do a couple of experiments where we might try to appeal,
learn a little Chinese and learn a little Italian, that you can ask them questions,
to try to elicit a response, or try to get a hit on a K2 or male, basically try to cater to them, not necessarily saying, oh, that's whoever that it may be, it was an Irish immigrant, but as far as that, we do, I mean, we will, if we go to investigation, or we go to a location, like one that we have coming up soon at Chucalissa, we're at the burial mounds here,
Native American.
We'll do a couple of experiments and try to appeal to, the Native Americans, and try to see if we can just help to elicit a direct response. But, we're not going to solely rely on that. Oh, there was 20 Chinamen that died in this mining accident here. We're not going to base a whole investigation around just that.
And one thing people must understand when you're doing this, even if it's as a novice, or if you do have a television show or anything, you must show respect to the people that were there before you, because without the history that we have as a society, we have nothing. If you go in and are very aggressive, we don't do provoking. We're not aggressive because, I want people to respect me and I'm alive. Just think about if you're still around, your entity is still around, you still want the respect that you had when you were here. So that's one thing people must understand, that, you have to show respect to everything that was before us. Don't be a butt is the nicest way to say it, because we are on the radio, and I don't want FAA coming in on us or anything, FCC and all that. But, it's one of those things. You can't go into a location and be passive-aggressive and think that I can go in here, 55 miles an hour, not worry about any type of repercussions, because regardless of if you believe in the past lives, entities, or whatever the case may be, you still want to have respect. You still want to be respected after you're gone. You want people to say good things about you. If you're gone and somebody's talking bad about you, and you're still an entity, you're going to react to that. So
Absolutely.
Why do you want to go in and, I don't believe in coercing or being vindictive or anything like that whenever you're doing an investigation, because regardless of what some people want to think, the way I always look at it is that somebody's mother, somebody's brother, somebody's child. Could be their father. You want your family bloodline to be respected. So when you're doing this, even if you're just a novice, folks, go out there and be respectful. Always treat things the way you want to be treated. And if it is in the afterlife, and if that is what there is, then you want to treat people the right way there too. People, I don't understand why people want to go in and be disrespectful in this situation, because there are certain things that we cannot deny that we have seen personally, professionally, on television or whatever, that, if you go in and act a fool, take the Warrens, for example, the Amityville Horror, the Exorcism. Miss Warren just passed away here last, I think it was about a month and a half, 2 months ago. As long as they did it, as long as her and her husband were in this paranormal field, they had nothing but respect for them, for what they did and the way they did things. And that, to me, is the biggest thing in the world. You only have one thing when you arrive here on earth, and that's your name, and you only have one thing when you leave, and that's your name. And if you have done things to sully your name, well, it's on you. And like I said, the Warrens had the utmost respect in this industry by many, many people. When Miss Warren passed away, Twitter, Instagram, everything went crazy of people giving their condolences and heartfelt, feelings because of who she was and what she represented.
Yeah, you're absolutely right. And, and it is about showing respect, to the departed as well as to the clients that you're serving. And, it is not uncommon for me to, during the course of an investigation to, try to conduct an EVP session in Spanish or in German, depending on the circumstances, because I know if somebody walked up to me and started speaking Russian, I'm not going to be inclined to talk to them. I'm going to be like, you are not speaking English. I don't understand what you're saying. I am not going to talk to you.
Don't know what you mean. All I heard was vodka. But I mean, that's the biggest thing, and that's one of the things that I guess it's my biggest pet peeve is when people do this and they don't want to show the respect that they should because of who it is, what it is. Anything that has come before us, we should respect because it's allowing us to live the way we live. And even in death, we still, like I said, the only thing you have is your name. When you're gone, the only thing that they see of you is your name on a headstone. When you're born, that's the only thing that you have. And if you are the person that's going out there and being contrite and mean and provoking spirits and then wonder why when you go home that, your dog's over in the corner standing on its head and you're not sure why, but you just got through holler screaming and cursing at an entity and now your dog's paying for it.
Absolutely right. And on that note, it is time for our next break of the evening. But when we come back, we're going to have more with Chris, Eric, and John. So stay tuned, folks. You are listening to Periscope Uncensored on WBHM Digital Broadcasting out of Birmingham, Alabama, and we will be right back. Welcome back to Periscope Uncensored on WBHM Digital Broadcasting out of Birmingham, Alabama. I'm Clarissa Vasquez, and in the co-pilot seat, as always, is the man with the epic beard, Mr. Joe White.
Hello, everybody.
Ooh, he radio voiced us. Ooh, and all the girls are going, ah! They're going to start throwing. They're going to start throwing their underwear at you here any minute now, Joe. But we are having a great time tonight, folks, talking to Eric, John, and Chris from Memphis Empath Paranormal Society, also known as MEPS, out of Memphis and West Memphis, Tennessee. And oh my gosh, these guys are so knowledgeable, and they've only been around for about 4 years, but they are committed to excellence. And we've only got about 20 minutes left with these guys, but holy cow, Joe. I mean, wow, that's all I can say is wow. It's almost like talking to myself in some aspects, which I know people are going to be like, well, she does that anyway.
I was going to say, I talk to myself all the time.
Yeah.
We really do appreciate it, but and that's one thing, is this is a constantly changing, field of study, and that's what our biggest thing is. We haven't been around long, 4 years, and the good Lord above knows that we've got a lot of learning to do. But that's something we always try to take pride on is trying to learn more and be able to do more. And that's one thing about it. We've all of us, has said, hey, this is, Memphis is a city that is our home, and we've lived here our whole lives. And, we feel like that we should be able to give back something to the city. And that's the main thing. That's a lot why we do this. We do this to be able to give back to the city, to be able to help people, when they're in time of need, because, when something like this happens, you gotta face it. We're in the Bible Belt, and for the longest time, this field of study was like taboo. You didn't talk about it. If it was something that you believed in ghosts or spirits, you didn't talk about it. You were, scared, or more or less to say to talk to anyone about it.
It wasn't something you discussed at the Sunday dinner table.
But as time has gone by and more people have become open and aware of it, and wanting to know more, we wanted to be there for people to be able to reach out to and ask for that help, and that's our way of being able to give back, to the people in our community.
And absolutely, that's outstanding. And I don't know if you guys agree with this or not, but I personally think that that's where the television programs have actually been of the most benefit, is helping to remove the stigma attached to discussing ghostly and other paranormal phenomena.
Well, I agree with you 100% on that.
It's brought it all to the forefront,
and that's one thing about it, and that's one thing that I really wanted to do with Urban, is producing the Urban Ghost Hunters channel, is because, I wanted to give people, an opportunity to see inside what we do, without necessarily, a lot of that we're uploading is not, it's not going to be, personal, residential investigations just due, to confidentiality with us and our client.
Mm-hmm.
And so, but we wanted to give the people motivation to go out. Hey, it doesn't take a lot. You can get out there and go do these kind of things. If this is something you're interested in, motivate them to get out and go do it, or reach out to us and say, hey, I really want to learn how to investigate. I'm not saying that our way is the right way by any means, but hey, at least I want to learn a proper way of going out and being able to investigate and learn how to collect data the right way.
Well, and use the equipment. That's the biggest thing. There's no, like we talked about earlier in the first hour, about there's no set way or guidelines in doing this. There's no written down, okay, this is how a millimeter is used, this is how you get the responses. As you were saying, the TV shows of now that have brought it off to the forefront, it has really, it's been educational for a lot of people, because they hear and see of this equipment, but they don't know how it's used. And that's the biggest thing. I guess that's my biggest thing right now is the use of the equipment is not something that is standardized.
Right.
Everybody uses it, and they get a different result for using it. I guess that's the scientific part of it, where you want a standardized way of using something or testing something. It's just the way we are as a human race. We have standardizations of everything, and it also goes into this field too.
Yeah, absolutely.
If you excuse me, if you guys were approached to do your own TV show, would you guys do it?
Under our circumstances, we have our own set of ground rules that we want to go by. That's the only thing that I see that is the issues with some of these that they have now. They're too predictable.
Right.
Everybody's going to the same locations.
Mm-hmm.
The asylum, the sanatoriums, they're not the only ones there. We mentioned South Pittsburgh. It's not the only old hospital in the world, but yet once it gets a reputation, then that's where everybody wants to go, because that's where the standard was set. Well, we saw so-and-so, a 7-foot black shadow in, wherever. Well, instead of people going and wanting to be the first, they're going and they're being 50 first, you know,
Right.
instead of being the one that goes in and finds a location that nobody else has done. One of the newer shows they have now with Jack Osborne and Katrina, who was on, she's been on 4 or 5 different shows. And that's another thing, if you notice, they're all recycled. All the people that are doing it. The young lady Katrina, she has been on Paranormal States, which is the one from Penn State. She's been on the one with Nick Gross, and now she's on the one with Jack Osborne. Well, that's 3 shows that she has been recycled on, you know, and I mean, no offense to anybody, but I have an opinion. You have an opinion. Eric has his own opinion. We're only getting the opinions that the producers are wanting us to see on the television shows because it goes back to that thing of ratings, plain and simple. But to me, if you're in this field, you want to be the first to go investigate. And, hey, we investigated this place, so we call you and Joe up and say, hey, we got this place in Memphis, Tennessee, that we're the only ones that investigated, that, oh, my God, you need to get out here and go through this with us before it gets blown up and everybody does it.
Right.
You know, and that, to me, that's the biggest thing to me. If you notice, they all do the same location. And it's just, you know, there's 50 states in this United States, and we're not the only place in the world.
You know, and that kind of falls on the subject of a gentleman that I personally like to listen to, and I try to listen to one of his old lectures every day, and that's a gentleman by the name of, and we all are familiar with, Chris Fleming. You know, and one of his favorite quotes is, "There are spirits everywhere," and you know, and with that being said, that's like, you know, if we go investigate somewhere, you know, personally, you know, I would find more desire in investigating a location that's not, you know, been blown out of the water by the shows, you know, and a place that's not really that well known about. And, you know, and I mean, and then with that being said, it's, you know, it's just about trying to find evidence and being able to go to a location without influence. And a lot of times, you know, we could say South Pittsburgh Hospital, we could say Waverly Hills, we could say the Stanley. I mean, we can, you know, there's all these places have a persona about them, you know, and, you know, and we read about all the experiences and stuff, but like, what about this hospital we just investigated? You know, it's, nobody knows about it. You know, it's an investigation that we've investigated. I mean, there's been things done there that we figured out, you know, through investigating, you know, stuff with using like the Ouija board that we found in there, and, you know, some other things like that. But as far as investigating, you know, it's a place that's not known of, that nobody's been to, as far as, you know, a paranormal group. There's a few of them around Memphis now, but but like I said, you know, those places are the places that I desire and want to go to. I mean, I do. I love the places like Tombstone. That's probably one of the best experiences that I've ever had as an investigator in my life. I love
investigating Tombstone. That's one of my favorite places too. And I really don't like the state of Arizona, but I love Tombstone.
I absolutely love Tombstone. It has by far been one of my favorite states, my favorite location. There in Florida.
What single piece of advice would you pass along to someone who is just starting out in the field?
Start out with an open mind.
An open mind, and the best tool in this field is your own body. You know, when we investigate, and that's what I've told everybody that's been a part of us, everybody that's gone on an investigation with us, is don't be afraid to let your body's going to feel reactions to it. Your hair, you walk into a location and you walk through and you hit a cold spot and all the hairs on your arms stand up. You know, that's part of your body. Your body reacts to the environment you're in. And I believe that, you know, spiritual manifestation, the spirit's nothing but energy. And I believe that, you know, our bodies to electricity. Yeah. And so, you know, your body is a great tool in this field. So always remember, no matter what kind of money that you got that you can actually spend, because we know this is a money pit, but, you know, it's, you know, always do not be afraid to use your own personal being. Use your own body it's the greatest tool you can have.
That, and people need to realize that we're not the first people that have ever gone into this field to do this, to investigate ghosts, spirits, anything. Remember when they did it before, they used a pair of guiding rods. It was two pieces of metal that were bent, or you used a piece of wood that had a forked piece of wood. There's so many old ways that things were done that, as technology changes, but everything relates back to one thing. And just like Eric just stated, open mind and be aware of your body, of your five senses, plus the sixth one, which is your ingenuity. If you think you feel something, more likely you do. Don't ever sell yourself short. Always do this, and do it with full-blown, not aggression, but full-blown passion. Thank you. Full-blown passion. That way, you're giving it your all. When you get through doing this at the end of the day, you have no questions of if I did something right or if I did something wrong. I did it to the best of my ability. And to me, that's the biggest thing. Do it to the best of your ability, and just be open to it.
And try to get our clients some answers. I mean, that's the best thing to do is always go into a location with an open mind. I mean, that's if you go in with an open mind and you're not persuaded one way or the other, try to, like you said, try to go in with an open mind and be able to just do what you know to do. That's the main thing. That's the best piece of advice that I or John would offer somebody.
Yeah.
Okay, and what's your most compelling data to date?
Well, there's a few of them, but there's actually a piece of evidence that we actually have not released on the social media, and the main reason why is because the way we look at it, if we, when you disclose some evidence that you capture, you better make sure you have your stuff together, because it's not necessarily the person that believes it or the open-minded skeptic that is going to look at it and say, oh, that's pretty compelling. It's going to be the skeptics that are going to tear you apart if you don't have your stuff together. There's a very well-known place here in Memphis that actually was probably considered one of Memphis' most haunted locations. That's a place called Ernestine and Hazel. And we were down there, and we were basically going through the bar and the upstairs bordello part of it, and we actually captured a shadow figure at the end of the hallway, and we captured a full body apparition with one of the DSLR cameras, but yet that image, both of those images were captured under low light conditions, and so it can be anything. We call it paranormal? Absolutely. John and I both agree with each other that it is paranormal because of the simple fact of what the word paranormal means, which means above or beyond the realm of normality. We tried every which way we could to debunk it. We couldn't come up with a logical answer. That right there, the shadow figure that we captured down there and the full body apparition is probably the two most compelling pieces of evidence that we've captured to date. We've had EVPs, that say your name and your name has never been even spoken while you're there. But when you see something like what Eric was just discussing, it's above and beyond hearing your name on an EVP. You're looking at the location with your naked eye, and you take a picture and something's there, and it's like, and then you take another picture and it's not there. And it's just one of those things. It makes you want to scratch your head. It's something that it's part of the
biggest thing is it's part of what we do this for. Every one of us that do this, no matter where you are, how much, like he said earlier, money you have, what you have, if you're on TV, if you have radio shows or whatever, we all do this because we have a passion, and we are adrenaline junkies. I am not able to do what I want to because I have had bilateral knee replacement. I've had 10 surgeries on one leg. So I am not physically able to play football, baseball, whatever I used to do. And this gets me my adrenaline that I look for every day of the week. It is part of why we do this. People can say what they want to. And you two know this as well as I do. And Eric's sitting here grinning at me. And that is the thing. We are all adrenaline junkies. And this is the way we have found that we don't have to jump off of a cliff with a parachute tied to us or anything like that, but yet we get our adrenaline and we get the need that we quench the thirst that we have for the adrenaline.
No, absolutely.
It's exciting. It's exciting, when, like I said, during investigation, 50-60% of the time, a lot of your evidence, you're not even going to realize that you capture it until you actually get back and start actually reviewing.
And then you look at each other like, oh my God, did you know that we did that?
We actually investigated a location. We actually coined it the name the Memphis Demon House, and that place has probably been the most. It was probably the most active location that we had ever investigated. And we literally, in one night, 8-hour investigation, we literally captured 32 EVPs.
Yes.
In that location.
And that was one of those things where we were talking about the location of one. It was an old apartment building that on three sides were senior living facilities, and on the fourth side was a nursing home. So there is no telling how much death had been on that one block. And if we hadn't looked up the area around it and found out what it was, we would have just thought, oh, my God, it's just this spot, until we figured out, okay, there's 3 nursing homes and, and a senior living facility right here within walking distance. There had been deaths at the apartment complex. But it was
tragic deaths there. There had been one of the tenants was practicing dark rituals in the location. So there was a lot of stuff behind it, but the place was, like I said, it was on Non-Conning Creek, which actually was a big waterway. Yeah, it was a big waterway, and
guys, it's time for our final break of the evening. But when we come back, we're going to have our closing remarks with you. So stay tuned, folks. You're listening to Periscope Uncensored on WBHM Digital Broadcasting, and we will be right back. Welcome back to Periscope Uncensored on WBHM Digital Broadcasting out of Birmingham, Alabama. I'm Clarissa Vasquez. Riding shotgun this evening is Mr. Radio Voice himself, Joe White.
Hello, everybody.
Ooh, and the crowd goes wild. Normally in the program, we would have said goodbye to our guests by this time. We would take the last 20 minutes, for you and I to do our wrap up and talk about, who's coming on next week, which for the record is the very talented Laura Lee Potvin. So be sure to tune in next week, 9 p.m. Eastern, to Periscope Uncensored here on WBHM Digital Broadcasting. But we're having such a great time that we asked Eric, Chris, and John to stick around for the last 20 minutes of the show.
Absolutely. Why not?
And so, guys, before we get carried away talking about ghosts and data and all of the fun that we have getting our adrenaline fix, what is the best way for people to find you?
Well, we have a YouTube channel, which is Urban Ghost Hunters. And also, like I said earlier, we do every Sunday, we do a 20 to a 30-minute video drop. We are on Facebook at Memphis Empath Paranormal Society. We are on Instagram
at Eric Murphy 422.
And then we are also on We're working on getting on Skype. I haven't quite got that one fixed yet, so we're working on that. But I mean, the YouTube channel and our Facebook page. Also, Eric gave you his Instagram. You can find us both on Facebook. Also, John Wilson and Eric Murphy. Chris is also on there. Chris Sanchez. We're trying to be on every medium that's possible because that's what we have as a society today. So that's the two main ones are our YouTube channel, which is Ghost Hunters, Urban Ghost Hunters, and our Facebook page, which is Memphis Empath Society.
Also, you can find us on. You can search us in Google. You'll find us at Memphis Empath Paranormal Society.com. You can search us on there. We've also got a Google business on there. You can find us there. But the main place that you can find us, interact with us, is Memphis Empath Paranormal Society at Facebook. We answer as quick as we can. It's a few of us on there, so all you gotta do is, if you want to shoot us a message, if there's somewhere you'd like to see us investigate, all they gotta do is send us some information. We'll be happy to look into it.
And we answered at all times of the evening and night.
Yes, we do.
I'm up in the middle of the night most of the time, and I'll answer. We get people from the Pacific time zone that are asking us at 7:00 at night, where it's 1 or 2 in the morning here. So don't be surprised if you were to put a message on our Facebook page at 2 a.m. Eastern time, and at 2:05 Eastern time, Eric or myself or even Chris answer you back, because we check it at all times, because that's the age that we're in. It's the digital age. And as long as we can answer you as quickly as possible, then we're staying ahead of the game.
Outstanding, guys. And I know, Joe and I, when we're conducting the shows, we've got a sheet of paper, we write notes back and forth to each other. And during the course of this show, we've been writing notes back and forth to each other. We've got some ideas that we want to bring to you guys after we're on the air, after the show is over. But I know for a fact that Joe has his phone in his hand and is in the process of subscribing to your YouTube channel right now.
Good. We like to hear that. It's something that, as you can tell, and as the listeners can tell, that we are all very passionate about. But we really love
interacting with everybody that follows us. That was when we decided this YouTube thing had been kind of in the making over the last several months. And we had actually posted a poll on our Facebook page and asked, where, if you were to watch one of our investigations, where would you like to see us investigate first? And we actually took that poll, and that's actually why we went and filmed our first video drop at the old tuberculosis hospital in asylum, is because that's what people wanted to see. And so, we did that for them. And, and that's the way we're going to do that YouTube channel, is with subscribers and people that watch the videos, and leave us a comment. That's the main thing we want to give the viewer what they like to see, but as well as that, is we want to bring to light that, we might drop a 30-minute video and there may absolutely be nothing in it, because, we're trying to show the real aspect of investigating at a place, whether we capture evidence or we don't capture evidence. We want them to see the real side of it.
It's all just not the glory of what you see on television. There's a lot of long hours that goes into this, and we want people to understand that we want to work with other groups all over the United States. We have one group that we talk to and we deal with. She's out of Central Arkansas, and this young lady is an empath. He was talking about the demon house earlier. That's one of the reasons we are leery of having an empath on site for the whole time of an investigation, is because of an experience we had with that house. So that's why we do that thing. That was one of the things I wanted to clarify, because there's a lot of people out there that have empaths on their team, and they're like, why would you not want one? Well, we dealt with the adverse side of it because of the empath, because of the location. We we did. So it kind of drove us to where we're at today. And it's a never-ending battle. It's always an evolving field that you're in. You do things different. What you do today, you might not do tomorrow. Just like we said, open mind. Always have an open mind.
Definitely.
I don't ever think that every investigation that we go on is always different. In some shape or form. There's never been an investigation that I have ever been on, or that John or Chris has ever been on, that's, just alike. I mean, we're going to use the same equipment, but are we going to use it in the same manner? Are we going to, when we go to a location, are we going to set up one of the static cameras in the corner of the living room and hope to capture a ball move across the floor? I mean, it's not necessarily saying that, when we go to a location that we actually do physically do the same repetitive steps over and over again. It's never been that way.
Yes, every location.
Now, you mentioned setting up a static camera and seeing if a ball moves across the floor. Do you guys have a tendency to go old school? And
yes, ma'am, because that was what my field was for 20 years was video cameras. I installed a lot of them at the Memphis International Airport. I did a few there at a bunch of banks there in Alabama. I've done a few prisons in Colorado. So I've been all over. And that's one of the things we like to use because, I mean, you can't be in one room 24/7. And another thing that I want to bring out into the open is you don't have to always do your investigations at night because these entities, they had a life too, so they were there during the day also. That's one of the biggest things that I see that you see on the television shows and everything else. They always stress, well, we do it in total darkness. Well, that entity wasn't in total darkness during their time of life the whole time. So you never know when you're going to find some type of evidence during the day at high noon or at the witching hour at 3 o'clock in the morning. Everybody thinks witching hour is midnight, but it's 3 o'clock in the morning. So.
Right.
But anyway, I mean, that's one of the things. Everybody stresses, doing this at night, a night investigation. Well, they don't know the day and night. They're going to come out during the day if it's a entity that is a repetition. You're not going to catch an entity going to the kitchen in the morning. You're not going to catch him at 12 o'clock doing the same thing at midnight. So it's one of those things. Everybody says, do it in total darkness. Well, it happens during the day too. And that's one of the things that, the field doesn't really masturbate on or speak of because it's the lore of doing it at night. It's the taboo part of it being, it's total darkness. I mean, it's 24/7. That's just the way it is, and that's one thing that nobody really stresses or even discusses. That it is a 24/7 kind of a thing. It's not, that a ghost doesn't go to sleep in the morning and wake up at 4 o'clock in the afternoon and say, it's 16 night, I have to haunt tonight. I mean,
that's just John Wilkes.
Yeah, that's just me. I'm up always at night. But I mean, it's just one of those things that. It's never really discussed. It's always, nighttime.
Yeah, no, you're absolutely right.
Yeah, and with John saying that, and that's one of my biggest things is, is that the way that we're talking about, protocols and, and proper use of equipment and there's being a method to this field. And, we know that as an investigator that what science says or the standard for science in proving a theory or a hypothesis is to be able to replicate what is happening twice in a controlled environment. And with that being said, I can't replicate a manifestation to occur walking down the hallway at the same exact time in that controlled environment. I may have captured what looks to be a full body apparition walking across the stair rail and then I may capture what looks to be the same person walking down a set of steps. I mean, I didn't get up every morning at the same exact time and walk to the bathroom and brush my teeth every morning at the same time.
And that all boils down to whether you're dealing with a residual entity or an intelligent entity. If you're dealing with an intelligent entity or an intellectual, as some people prefer to call them, they're not going to be doing the exact same thing over and over and over again. Whereas with a residual, you do stand a chance of catching the same thing at the same time at the same location.
Right. And I'm a big believer in I call it the stone tape theory, but I'm a big believer in that. I believe that a lot of investigations we've been on, and we said, yeah, there is activity going here. That's a lot of that we end up coming up with is the fact that it is a residual type of paranormal activity that's occurring at the location that we go to. We see that more often.
Yeah, because everybody pigeonholes themselves to the darkness to do this. I mean, like we said, that's not it. It happens 24/7, and a residual is going to happen whatever time it happens in the real world there, as you're investigating. So if you're doing this, if you're in this field or you want to get in this field, remember, when you do your walkthrough and your first walkthrough to check your ground levels, make sure that get the levels of what your EMF is or whatever it is in your building. Still, always carry your digital recorder in your pocket, because you might hear that voice at 3 o'clock in the afternoon. Pull out that digital recorder, do a prompt to EVP, and you're liable to get an EVP at 3 o'clock in the afternoon that you're not going to get at 3 o'clock in the morning. Always, back to what we said, always keep yourself open. When you walk into a building, make sure you have your digital recorder in your pocket. Make sure you have something with you if you hear a voice, well, hey, you stop right there and you do a quick EVP session. You take out your camera and you take a series of photos.
Yeah, guys, I hate to cut you off, but we have come to the end of our show, but we want to thank you so much for being great guests tonight. We are absolutely thrilled, and you can bet that Joe or myself will be in touch within the next 24 hours. But folks, be sure to stay tuned to WBHM for our great programming that's coming up here the rest of the week, and tune in next Thursday at 9 p.m. Eastern, where we're going to have here on Periscope Uncensored the very gifted and talented Laura Lee Potvin. So for Joe, the guys from MEPS, Kat, the WBHM family of hosts, and myself, have a great evening, and may all of your ghosts be friendly.
Stay spooky, everybody.